So we've talked a lot about the different techniques people can use and how they can recognise it, and but we thought it'd be good to just touch on the positive aspects of being a carer as well. So it can be, we don't want to make it sound like it's sort of doom and gloom. Is there anything you wanted to?
Yeah, it's just a lot of research recently looking at the positives around being in a caring relationship, and some of it, we all know about, but kind of overlooked because it can be such a pressure. It can be hard work caring for someone, and there are a number of key areas which it's just worth bearing in mind. First of all, it is just a good thing to be able to care for someone you love, and it's good to be kind to someone when you're feeling great and they're feeling great and everything's fine. In life, what really matters is how you can help when the odds are against you. And many carers report it's almost like an existential change. It's like the world is a different place because the person you love needs you in a way they didn't need you before. They've always needed you in different ways, and you've needed them. But depending on the situation, the world is just a different place, and your activity and life in it is different. And you can do for them something that no one else can really do. But loving care is such a positive thing, and it just encompasses everything. That is what happens. Another aspect is in the relationship itself, particularly in a married couple, but not always. It could be mother-child, child to mother, child to father. That the reality is that in modern life, when young people get independent earlier, or marriages that survive are checkered, not everything's great. Many relationships of any kind, marriages, kinship, friendship, become not bad, they just wither. They become somewhat superficial, somewhat occasional, maybe even instrumental. They just become something that isn't the best of what they were. For all the negatives, all the difficulties, when someone gets into a caring relationship with someone, say a partner, it helps amplify the parts of that relationship which have always been significant and important. It's a deepening of the relationship. Some people describe it as a rediscovery of the relationship. Yes, the terms are different. There's an asymmetry there that wasn't there before, perhaps. But the tenderness, the attention to the other person, the awareness of changes in them, the fact, and this comes up very commonly, the fact that the essence of that person, despite maybe physical or mental changes, remains there, remains identifiable. Now, in many disorders, many degenerative disorders, one of the tragedies, one of the sadnesses, is the fundamental changes in the individual, and that sense of loss is very powerful. But many people report that sense of being able to connect with their loved one in a way which they maybe haven't been able to do, for whatever reason, things on both sides, for many years.
It's interesting. I remember when I was nursing my mother when she had brain cancer, and so her mind was going. And when part of the act of caring for her full time is quite interesting. So we've always both been night owls, so we'd kind of often sit up into the night. And her short-term memory was going, but her long-term memory was intact, quite common with dementia. And so what we do is we just sort of tell stories, and hearing stories about childhood, hearing stories about family, reconnecting with those memories, are actually incredibly valuable. It created some really valuable memories. And although some of it was very tinged with sadness and it can be a stressful time, it was actually a period I look back on with a lot of joy and a lot of appreciation that we had those moments and we were able to connect like that. And that's something I've heard from other carers.
Yes, it is. it is common, and it's something to be cherished, clearly. Even if many things around it are negative and saddening, there is that that opportunity, that tendency toward a deepening, a rediscovery of the connections, as you say. Another element is about what we sometimes call self-actualization. The carer feels as though they're able to use all their potential that maybe hasn't been used before. Particularly women have always been carers, that traditionally, in families, mothering and so on. But it is something which, when men are carers, and every man is different, of course, but society doesn't expect men to be in a caring role typically, and so men tend not to develop those skills or that orientation, that perspective on relationships. Sometimes when they come into the role of being a carer, they do report that actually this is a side of myself which I was only vaguely aware of. Now, I'm now feeling things and thinking things and having a perspective that I didn't really have before.
And it's quite common, interesting, when you look at people that go into the caring professions, whether as a counsellor therapist or as a nurse or a doctor, that often when you ask people about the motivations, it might be that it was caring for a family member or caring for a loved one, that the sense of satisfaction, the fact that it touched something deep inside them was said this is something I want to develop. And,
absolutely. Although many young people are carers nowadays, often caring is something that, in a marriage where people are roughly the same age, statistically the man's a little bit older than the woman normally, but it happens in maybe mid to late 50s, when most people have had most of their career or the children are normally grown up, and it is a new dimension, a new element of significance that wasn't there before, and that opportunity to draw upon life experience and empathy and compassion and sensitivity in the service of care is a self-actualizing. It's all of that life strength that has maybe been underused for a little while is now there to be used. That sense of being able to turn a capacity for love into actual everyday actions is really really powerful. And also it's about the significance of everyday events. You know, we spend so much time in our lives changing print cartridges, taking out the bins, renewing a driving license or renewing a television license, filling the car up, and they're little important things, but you know, they're just stuff that you do. And suddenly, when you're in a caring relationship, if your partner says, "Oh, my muscles, my hands are really sore today, could you change the printer cartridge?" Suddenly, changing a printer cartridge so that he can print out the next chapter of his autobiography that he's been writing therapeutically takes on a whole new meaning. Little things that you do for other people can be big things for them, obviously, but it's a big thing for your sense of what it is that's giving your life significance. Basic care around washing and cleaning, nobody particularly likes doing those things, but when it's for someone else to make their life that little bit more tolerable, a little bit easier, getting things out of the way so they don't have to worry about it, so they can do those maybe those diminishing number of things that are meaningful to them and give them joy and maybe a bit of relief. Just clearing the barriers to help them be who they can still be adds a whole new significance to everyday tasks. And that living in a world where almost everything you do in the home has a link to that person's well-being makes little things in the house significant. And that's a different kind of positive. It's about significance and meaning, and it's something which people do report, that realization that all these little things do mean something new, and that's very, very powerful. Other things that people report are things connected to being a practical, effective carer and advocate. This includes, but isn't limited to, learning about some specialist assistive technology, maybe a new form of hearing aid, a new form of mobility scooter, making judgments about that and becoming quite expert in what you're looking for given your partner or the person you're caring for's distinctive pattern of difficulties and challenges. There's that. The other areas about this can be in terms of developing skills around negotiation and advocacy, because very often the individual cannot or won't, feels uncomfortable with arguing their own case, so it's better that you who know the facts but are able to communicate maybe more effectively in some cases. Developing that skill is very powerful. People report developing a confidence with bureaucracy and authority that they didn't have before.
Being able to navigate health services,
absolutely.
local authorities, social services.
And absolutely, and it's sometimes around the fact that when we are younger and we are thinking about our own healthcare, particularly men, the threshold's quite low to say, actually, I'll live with it for a week and maybe I'll mention it the next time I go to the GP. But when you're doing it for your loved partner, who can no longer do that for herself, your well of motivation is very deep, and you will take risks and you will countenance doing things that you might have previously been very uncomfortable with, because you're doing it through love. So you're driven to find out, you're driven to be assertive, you're driven to be an advocate, because you're just focusing on that one dimension. There's something else which I think the research hasn't looked at. I think it's a very interesting area, and it's going to become more important in the future rather than less important. And it's this, it's the fact that one of the things which carers are aware of is that they are increasingly role models for other generations. Young people, even at 10, 11, 12, maybe even younger, in different ways, they can see that grandma's caring for granddad in a way that she didn't used to. Even if they're very young, they remember things being different, because deterioration or constraint can happen quite quickly, sometimes overnight. And for kids, young people at 14, 15, 16, 17, or 22 or 25, when they see someone caring for another person, and if they've had no immediate experience of it themselves, it normalises caring. It shows that it can be done. It shows that it is difficult, but not without its positives. And as we go forward, more and more people will become carers, directly, indirectly, fully or partly. And I think there's something there about celebrating and thanking carers for the fact that the more they're able to talk about the caring, the more they're able to be visible about it, the more they're able to, in an appropriate way, bring young people into that domain of caring, so they feel comfortable with it and they understand the illness or the challenge that granddad has. There is a real emotional benefit to all concerned, and I think there's a real societal benefit in having young people aware that when they are older, or maybe when not so old, that there's a thing called caring, which might in future become as big a life phase as being married, having children, suffering your own illness. Caring is the new life phase, and I think we should be thanking carers when they are able to share what it's like to be a carer with others.
So we're coming to the end of the course now. So are there any kind of particular takeaways or things or themes that we wanted to pick up just to remind people of?
Yeah, I think there are a few headlines. Each individual will take from the course what's most relevant to them, I guess, but some of the headlines are, first of all, every carer is different, every person being cared for is different, every caring relationship is different, but there's enough similarity to allow us to draw upon other people's experiences. The second headline is around the fact that the impact on carers physically, psychologically, educationally, financially, socially should not be underestimated, either by the carer or those around them. The caring relationship is a complex one. It's got a lot of positives, but there are stresses and strains and difficulties. And it will impact on mental health very significantly in certain circumstances. And so anyone feeling strain, anxiety, depression, anger in the context of being a carer, that is a normal reaction. That is very common. And if you feel negative towards the situation you're in, you shouldn't feel guilty. That's a perfectly normal reaction. The other area, headline, I think is around the fact that it's important to monitor our own reaction, our own experiences and emotions. And there are certain signs that things might be getting to a stage where you need to have help or start to seriously self-helping. Some of those are around diet, some of those are around drinking, behaviours, obviously suicidal thoughts, all signs that things are not right. There are good news is that lots of ways an individual can look after himself without going through therapy, though counselling can help. And these are to do with looking at some of the ways we can look after our well-being. These might include meditation and reflecting on the here and now and not allowing ourselves to be overwhelmed by thoughts that enter our head. Not always easy, but it can be done using certain techniques. There are basic techniques that we can apply almost anywhere, such as the breathing exercises or the progressive muscle relaxation exercises. There are basic things we can do in our general approach to life. These things include being connected with other people and keeping those social connections. It involves being physically active. It involves being compassionate with other people. It involves being grounded, and sometimes it involves learning new skills. And of course, there are lots of aspects of our thinking that maintain some of the anxieties or low moods, and breaking out of these habits of thinking can be very powerful indeed. In terms of the balanced approach to reflecting on caring, there are many, many positives, and each individual person will experience more or less of those and a different pattern of them. But these include things such as self-actualizing, discovering your ability to care for someone and look after them that you maybe didn't think you could do. It's about exploring the relationship in a different way, maybe rediscovering some positives from before. It's about learning new skills around advocacy and navigating healthcare bureaucracies on behalf of that person. You're driven by a new energy because you love them and you're doing it for them. And also about thinking about the next generations. In the future there will be many more carers and many more people needing care, and we should applaud all carers, and they should be proud of what they do, and if they can share that with the next generation as a role model or involving the younger person in aspects of the care, then that will be positive for the future, I'm sure. But I'll finish where I started. Every individual is different, every person being cared for is different, every caring relationship is different. The main thing is to reflect upon how it's affecting you and to be confident and positive. I would say that however bad things might be, however complex or difficult they might be, they can be better, because the human mind has an amazing capacity to renew itself and to develop new skills and capacities to keep our mental health well protected.
Thank you. I hope you found this course helpful. At FCC, we're committed to providing courses and training for unpaid carers, and these courses are completely free. If you found this helpful, you could support our work in 3 ways. Please recommend it to any friends or people that you know that will benefit from the courses. Please consider sharing it on social media. And if you can, please consider donating. There are buttons on the website where you can donate £1, £2, £5, and every pound that you donate will make a huge difference by helping us make more and more care courses completely free to carers. Thank you very much.